Not very long ago, Western historians began the history of India with the arrival of the Greek warrior Alexander. But in this series, we will begin by going much further back in time. Our story begins at a time when our nation was first beginning to establish itself as a cradle of civilization. The history which we are about to delve into is a fascinating story of civilizations rising, establishing themselves, and then with time, either dithering away or morphing into a new system, a new order, or even a completely new people. Namaste, Namaskaram, Sat Sri Akal, Adab, hi, and welcome to the History of India from our nation's textbooks. Hey, as you've probably noticed, I'm here at the National Museum in New Delhi. Here, we find some very old objects which are a part of the museum's prehistoric collection. Objects like terracotta pottery, toy plows, wheelbarrows, toy birds, this dancing girl, this really fancy seal, and other such objects, which were excavated by archaeologists at different sites of our country. Most of these are estimated to have been made over 4,500 years ago. However, people lived in India even before that time. We will start our journey by discussing their way of life. The very first people who lived on the subcontinent existed nearly 2 million years ago. They are referred to as hunter-gatherers today. As that name suggests, they generally hunted wild animals, fish, or birds, or they gathered fruits, roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, eggs, and flowers for food. However, their lives were completely different from ours. One big difference was that they were constantly traveling from one place to another. They had to travel in search of land richer in vegetation and resources. Another reason for the travel was to follow the animals that they hunted. As the animals moved, the hunter-gatherers followed them. Yet another major reason for moving was the need of human beings to consume fresh water. This water is available to us in lakes, rivulets, and rivers. Nowadays, we store water and distribute it to our citizens through pipes and taps. But the hunter-gatherers did not store water, and these sources of water dried up, so they had to then move to find fresh water. Let's look at the map to find the few locations where evidence of the hunter-gatherers was found. As you'll notice, these locations are near sources of fresh water such as major rivers. Also, these regions have really good weather. These places where such evidence was found are called Paleolithic sites. So how do we know about these hunter-gatherers today? Well, the evidence of their existence was found by archaeologists in the form of stone tools and bones that they used for hunting, or for chopping wood, cutting roots, and making clothes. Other evidence that they left behind were their paintings on rocks and stones in caves. Such examples of their exquisite cave paintings were found in Madhya Pradesh, southern Uttar Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh, especially at sites such as Bhimbetka and Kurnool. These paintings are very detailed and point to the ability of hunter-gatherers to express themselves through their art, proving that human beings were always a more complex species than others, and obtaining food and water was not the only activity on our to-do lists. We don't really hunt for our food today, or even gather it from trees. We eat food that is actually cooked at home or maybe at a restaurant. You would probably notice that most of the ingredients for our food are based on grains like rice or wheat, or in some cases, bajra and makkah. And these grains are not collected by hunting or by gathering. In fact, these are grown in farms by farmers. Things have changed since the time of the first hunter-gatherers, which makes one wonder, when did this change begin? About 12,000 years ago, at the end of the Paleolithic era, the earth became relatively warmer due to a change in the climate. This resulted in the development of fertile land where grass and other plants could grow rapidly. As the vegetation grew, so did the number of animals who ate that grass. As the number of animals grew, people probably started herding and rearing these animals, such as cows and goats, so that they didn't have to travel every day to get their food or clothing. Further, some of the plants that started growing were the grain-bearing grasses, like wheat and barley and rice. People probably noticed that these plants were good sources of food and started growing and storing them, thus eliminating the need to move constantly all the time, walking for days and always being tired. The proof of this change in human lifestyle lies in the evidence provided by archaeologists. Archaeologists discovered clay pots, woven baskets, and clay pits that were used for storing grain by people in this period. They also excavated tools and earthen pots that suggested that hunting and gathering had been abandoned by a lot of men and women. A major site where this evidence of change was found is Mehrgarh, which is located in a fertile plain near the Bolan Pass.
We have hit a keyword. Mehrgarh.
Well, not quite, my digital friend. It's actually pronounced Mehrgarh. Mehrgarh is a site which was settled about 8,000 years ago by people who first started to grow barley and wheat and reared animals such as sheep and goats. This was evidenced by the bones of sheep and goat and deer and pig that were found here. Also, 4-room houses made of unbaked bricks were also found here. Another interesting artifact discovered from Mehrgarh was the evidence of numerous burials in which people were buried along with goods such as baskets, stone tools, jewelry, and animals such as goats and sheep. These articles were probably buried with people in order to provide them with resources for the next world. So what really happened between 12,000 years ago and now? Well, a lot happened. Nowadays, most people don't travel for food. Many people do not rear animals or work on farms for a living either. In fact, many people don't even live close to farms, instead living in large towns with paved roads and concrete buildings all around. These places are called cities. The inquisitive student would wonder, what were ancient cities like? Did the cities ever change? Were they always so busy and crowded? In the next video, we try to answer some of these questions by looking at the earliest cities that developed in the subcontinent. I look forward to continuing on our journey. Until then, be happy, stay healthy, and keep on learning.